Assalamu alaikum everyone and welcome to the video. Welcome to the channel which is Make Study Easier. Today we'll be studying chromatography, which is the last topic of this chapter of experimental techniques. After that we'll be moving to another chapter. Chromatography is a method used to separate complex mixtures. Chromatography is used in many hospitals and forensics to analyze samples. How chromatography is carried out: a colored dot is placed at one end of the chromatography paper. The strip is placed in a beaker cylinder that contains a solvent. The strip is placed in the solvent, which the ink dots above solvent water level. The solvent is absorbed upwards through the paper and carries the different dyes with it. Some dyes only go up to a certain point, therefore separating them out. Sometimes we need to separate two or more solids that are soluble, for example, mixtures of soluble colored substances such as inks and dyes, a technique called chromatography. Now, what is paper chromatography? Paper chromatography. The name of this technique comes from the Greek word which is chroma, meaning color. It was the first to use. As to separate colors, pigments, and dyes. Nowadays, it can also be used to separate colorless substances. The principle involved depends upon the relative solubilities. In paper chromatography, the piece of paper used, like most paper, contains water loosely combined with the cellulose of the paper. If a dye is put in small spots at the bottom of the paper and another solvent is soaked up the paper, the solutes present in the dye dissolve to different extents. Some are more soluble in the mobile solvent, moving up the paper. Others dissolve better in the water trapped in the paper and therefore do not travel very far up the paper. This difference in solubility allows the different pigments in the dyes to be separated. This technique is used to separate substances that have different solubilities in a given solvent. For example, different colored inks that have been mixed to make black ink. Now, moving on. What is the procedure? A pencil line is drawn on chromatography paper 1 centimeter above. This is called baseline. Spots of the sample are placed on it. The paper is then lowered into the solvent container, making sure that the pencil line sits above the level of the solvent so the samples don't wash into the solvent container. The solvent travels up the paper by capillary action, taking some of the colored substances with it. Different substances have different solubilities, so will travel at different rates, causing the substance to spread apart. Those substances with higher solubility will travel further than the others. This will show the different components of the ink dye. So, firstly, you have to set up chromatography paper as shown here. Then we lower paper into a beaker with the appropriate solvent, wait for solvent to travel up the paper, analyze chromatogram, and that's it. Now, paper chromatography is the name given to the overall separation technique, while a chromatogram is the name given to the visual output of a chromatography run. This is the piece of chromatography paper with the visibly separated components after the run has finished. Chromatography, although a simple technique, has many important applications. Besides identifying color pigments in medicine, proteins, which are complicated molecules, may be identified using chromatograms. Here, the building units of proteins are amino acids, which, like pigments, travel different distance with solvents. Although amino acids are colorless, they can be sprayed with a liquid which reacts with them to make them visible. Other substances produced by the body, such as urine, can also be analyzed by chromatography. We call liquids which, when sprayed onto chromatograms, make the separation visible. Locating agents. Now, what is locating agent? For chromatography to be useful, the chemist needs to be able to see the components move up the paper, which is not the case for colorless substances such as amino acids or sugars. Locating agents are substances which react with the sample and produce a colored product which is then visible. The chromatogram is treated with the agent after the chromatography run has been carried out, making the sample runs visible to the naked eye. Now, retention factor, RF value. These values are used to identify the components of mixtures. The RF value, or the retention factor value of a particular compound, is always the same. Calculating the RF value allows chemists to identify unknown substances because it can be compared with RF values of known substances under the same conditions. The formula we have for retention factor is distance traveled by substance divided by distance traveled by solvent. The RF value is a ratio and therefore has no units. Here, using RF values to identify components of a mixture, the distance traveled by substance is the one which is the mark we get from the height. The mark we get till the baseline is the distance traveled by substance, and the solvent front height till the baseline is the distance traveled by solvent. So by the formula we can easily take out the retention factor. Now, if I do it briefly, so chromatography can also be used for test for purity. It is especially useful with complicated chemicals like drugs or food additives, which cannot be easily melted or distilled. For example, using chromatography, a public analyst can identify the synthetic dyes with many foods contain and check that they are harmless. Many green vegetables sold in markets have been treated with pesticides to kill insect pests and herbicides to destroy weeds. These can be harmful to people. Chromatography can detect such chemicals even down to very low concentrations. So this was our chapter, which was the experimental techniques, and we have covered everything almost. In this video, we did chromatography, and there were past two videos as well, which I posted. Now we'll start another chapter, and if you're interested in like any other subject like physics or biology or mathematics, you can surely contact. I'll be posting more videos even on different codes, including 2059, 5070, 2058, 3248, and 4024 as well. So if you need any help and if you like the video, so do let me know. And if you like the video, do like the video. And if you want anything else to be heard, do let me know in the comment section. And also, do not forget to subscribe to my channel. And thank you for watching the video.